Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Mistakes Were Made. We are at the dining room table and we are going to do our budget recap for the second pay period of March. So that means this is going to cover the 16th through the 31st. We just, closed that pay period out. So everything that we talk about, it is all done and has happened for the most part. So let's get started. We are going to zoom on in and looking at income. That is where we're going to have our first difference from what we expected to happen. Mr. M's pay was actually $2,027.28. The amount for my pay was the same, and this is going to be the same going forward until we are no longer pulling money out of the job cushion. This is the first pay period that we have completed since the layoff, and so the first one where my pay is being covered by our job cushion. Now, normally if we had multiple side hustle items, I would be adding them together and putting them in this category. But I think what I'll do is if there isn't any actual miscellaneous income for us to disclose, but we do have multiple side hustle items of income, I am going to go ahead and break those out so that we can look at them individually. If there ends up being a miscellaneous income, then we'll just do what we would normally have done and add them both together or all of them together and note them here. So, bottom line, we did have some sales on Etsy for $33.30. Is that right? I feel like there's something off there, but I have my little notes to the side, but we'll see. And then we also received our first payment from YouTube for this channel. So I think I did a video where I advised kind of the amount that we were expecting to see, and at least I'm pretty sure that I did that. If not, we did receive a payment this pay period in the amount of $113.98. Now, that amount covers everything that we've earned from the middle of November all the way through the end of February. YouTube does pay 1 month behind, so anything that once you get to the threshold of $100, whatever month that is in, you would then get paid that amount or however much you ended up at the end of that particular month in the following month. So from an unemployment standpoint, just in case anybody is wondering about that, because we earned this in February and earlier, I have no requirement to disclose this amount for when I do an unemployment claim. Now, whoopsie, that is not the case for Etsy because those funds came in during a week where I intend to attempt to get unemployment benefits. I do have to note, that this income, when this income came in, and it needs to be disclosed in the actual week in which it happened. So at least as far as a go forward where YouTube is concerned, I do have a tracker, a spreadsheet tracker where I'm tracking the activities that I'm doing for unemployment, job searches and other things, as well as details about jobs that I am applying for. And then I have a separate tab where I am noting, every single day has its own column, and then there's a line for Etsy, there's a line for YouTube, and then there's a line I think I did Marketplace and then etc. So for every day I'm noting if there is any kind of income. Now with Etsy, it's really kind of nice and easy because a person makes a purchase and it's just a chunk of money on one day, $5, $12, $17, however much it happens to be. With YouTube, it's a little bit more dispersed because it's based on how many watch hours I'm getting, how many ads are being watched, those sorts of things. So on any given day, I think since I've been tracking it, there's been, I want to say like 3 or 4 days where there has been no indication of earnings made. But every other day it's, 30 cents here, 16 cents there, maybe as much as $1 on another day. So it's really small amounts, but they are accruing or occurring on a daily basis. So I do have to go in and do like a custom review so I can look at each individual day so that I'm incredibly accurate about when the income was earned. Now, it doesn't matter that I am not going to get paid those amounts for the YouTube views anytime soon. My guess would be maybe May will have accrued enough to get to that $100 again. But for the purposes for unemployment, it doesn't matter. They are interested only in when it was actually earned, and that's when I need to claim it. So there's that. Okay, so moving forward, we have $200.43 for the buffer rollover. So let's do a little bit of math here, and you can't see it. There we go. We've got 2027.28 plus 1100 plus 113.98 plus 33.30 plus $200.43. Oh, okay. Yeah, see, I had thought that there was something wrong. When I initially wrote down my notes, I had thought that this was 33.30, but it was actually 33.32, so plus 0.02 cents. Okay. I knew that there was something not looking quite right. And of course, for whatever reason, I didn't update the actual individual information on my notes, but I updated the addition stuff. Goodness gracious, I am having trouble with this piece of paper. Okay, so 3475.01 is what we were left with. Now, looking over this information and comparing it quickly to my notes, we do only have one small difference. So we are going to go ahead and transfer most of this over. So we had the second of 2 payments of $875 for our mortgage, the second of 2 payments of $206.28 for my health care premium. And then we didn't have any changes with our utility costs. So we're just copying. And this is very awkward. Hopefully that's not too terrible to look at if I have to skew the paper a little bit. The only area where we do have some difference is this is actually $90.56 instead of $91. So scooch that in. 875 plus 206.28 plus 176.16 plus 125. Oh, my handwriting's terrible. 93 plus 78.10. I can write nicely. I don't know why I'm not doing it. And now there's just constant dog hair everywhere. 78.10 plus 104 plus 90.56 equals $1,656.03. Uh-oh. Yep, okay. Yeah, we'll just put that dog hair where it goes, on the floor, I guess. It's where all the other dog hair lives, if it's not on a couch or on a person or on a dog. All right, so we're going to subtract that total from our income, which was $3475.01. And that leaves us with $1,818.98. Next, we have our savings section. We did do our transfer, an auto transfer to the emergency fund, and we have the $200 buffer rollover. So we are, in fact, looking at $225. Go ahead and add that to our running total, and that brings our income down to $1,593 and oopsie, I almost did that wrong, and 98 cents. Ugh, it already looks terrible. That's okay. Now, as far as our sinking funds, we had no changes, so I'm just going to go through here and copy everything over relatively quickly. So this is going to mean also that our total amount is going to be the same. We won't have to make any adjustments. Quite a bit of stuff to note. 125, 12, and $20. So 811 is still correct. So we will add that to our total, and that brings our total for income to $782.98. We're just going to transfer that again over to the debt section. We don't have anything to actively add as part of the budget in that section, so we'll skip that for now. The spending, there were no anomalies here. So I'll get that running total. So that puts us at $752.98. And we did do our standard transfer for a long-term goal of $100, which puts us at $652.98. Okay. Now, I am not going to go through all of the explanation on the sinking fund, emergency fund, mortgage, etc., the decision making that we did, or the percentages that we've done. We've already gone over that multiple times. I definitely recommend checking out some of our fairly recent videos if you would like some more in-depth information about that. Instead, I do have the totals noted, so I'm just going to write those out. However, if you do enjoy watching me, do the calculations for everything, and you guys would prefer to see that happening, just let me know. I have no problems keeping that in the process. I just figured this might help make this a little less of a long video, so we'll see. So the emergency fund, we are putting $130. I shouldn't say we are putting. As I said at the beginning, we did complete all of the steps for this stuff for the most part. I will note where we didn't. For the long-term goals, oh, okay. We'll just say that this is long because I don't know how to write. We also did $130. And then for the sinking funds, the total ended up being $132. And car, health, house, and pets will each receive $33. Mortgage, we did do our payment, and that was $196. And the fun category is receiving $64. And last but not least, our rollover will get the last little bit of change, or 98 cents. Okay. So the only items that we haven't actually actively done anything with, besides the rollover because it just kind of sits in the account, are the sinking funds and the fun category. We did pull the money out in cash. We just haven't divvied it out into their respective envelopes. We will do that when we do our standard cash stuffing for the first pay period of April. But the money piece of it is, out of the account. So, that puts us at minus 98, minus 64, minus 196, minus 132, minus 130, minus 130. $0 for a $0 base budget. Everything is balanced. This is closed out. All right, so where are we in the grand scheme of things in certain areas? Well, first and foremost, there were a few things that I wanted to touch on, things that came across in various comments on various videos. The first one, we did have a question about the yard cleanup and, where things stand. Somebody did mention, it seemed like we had been going towards that goal for a while, and yes, we absolutely have. We did take a little bit of a break in between to fund the gardening season, but we do have it feels like a lofty goal of $2,500 for the yard cleanup. Now, I did go over this a little bit, I think, during our last cash stuffing, but that's an arbitrary number that we came up with. We have no clue how much would be considered appropriate to assume would be the cost to have somebody come in and help clear our ivy, blackberries, and whatever else junk is back in that area. It's a decent sized area that needs to be taken care of. So we thought $2,500 seemed reasonable, but we could very well be very low. We could be high. Maybe we're in the Goldilocks zone and it's like just right. But the bottom line is, when we do get to $2,500, we are going to try and get at least 3 bids from, landscapers, folks who do, bramble clear out, those types of folks, and see what the answer is, see where those bids lie. Hopefully, not just because it'll be cheaper, but hopefully $2,500 is like the high end of that expectation. Like I said, not just because it means that it'll be cheaper, but it'll also mean that we should be able to get it started sooner rather than later. Okay, so there's that. And it's going to take a little while for us to get to that goal. As of the end of this pay period, and the $130 that we did transfer to long-term goals, which went to yard cleanup, we are at $1,798. So a little more than $711 to go. We are funding this $100 per pay period, which is $200 a month. So, we've got roughly 3.5 months. If you go by just how much we are putting in budget wise, depending on how much we have at the end of the pay period to put towards that goal, though, that will also obviously reduce how long it'll take us to get there. The next item was mortgage. So we had multiple people who, for varying, had varying thoughts on this, but the center thought process was people felt if they were in our shoes, they would feel more comfortable having this money put aside, while I am still job hunting and I don't have a permanent job yet. And then once that job is secured, then of course you could do a lump sum payment towards the mortgage. And that is something that we did discuss when we were getting everything put together. Did it make sense for us to be putting these goals out there where the job situation is uncertain? Did we want to put things on hold for a while until, there was movement in one direction or another? And ultimately, we decided we did not want to pause our goals and where we wanted to go. We wanted to move forward, and we do want to see the impact of that moving forward. So ultimately, we did decide, yes, we are going to put money to different things. And the mortgage was, definitely an area of question and concern, because unlike these other places, once that money is put out as a payment, there's no way to get it back. But if we think about it, any money that we're putting to the emergency fund, that could be used up if an emergency comes around. Money that's going towards long-term goals, the expectation is once that goal amount is met, we are going to move forward with that particular task, that cost. And so thus that money will be gone as well. The same thing is true for the sinking funds. We're putting extra money in there, and so hopefully it's building up. But as costs come through for these particular categories, and the same is true for the rest of the categories here, we are going to spend that money. So that money is not necessarily going to be available. So when we look at it in that respect, there isn't, an argument strong enough for us to change what our original plan was. But as you guys know, we are not married to any one process. We do not, stick like concrete to a path that we have outlined. If things get to a place where we aren't feeling comfortable with putting this money out, if we get down the line and I'm still having difficulty finding a job, getting interviews, that whole thing, we probably will start to pull back, not just, not paying out the mortgage amounts, but we may just decide if there is any leftover, we're going to reconstitute it back into the job loss cushion. We may make decisions to, cut the things that we have not cut previously, because we did that purposely because we did want to have a lifestyle, and we did want to have the opportunity, if we needed to be able to cut back. So, though this is our plan, we are going to continue to move forward. We are very aware that things could change to the extent that we might need to change our processes or our thought process, or mindset, however you want to look at it, and decision making. But I anticipate if we're going to end up doing that, we wouldn't limit it just to whether we actually make the mortgage payment or not. I think we would be at that point really shrinking into that conservative mindset and kind of blowing this all up. So there's that. I do think there's 1,000% logic to the folks' thought processes that were bringing that concern up. And so we do acknowledge that, and it is something that we have thought about already. But at least for right now, especially so early into this process, it's not a concern to the point where we're going to make an adjustment. Speaking of mortgage, something else that some folks had requested was to see kind of what progress we are making on the mortgage. So we are going to, during each recap, and I'm not sure if we'll do it just for the whole month or if we'll do it, break it down between the pay periods as well. But we are going to start tracking our mortgage amount as well as how much we have saved in our emergency fund. So the emergency fund first, as of the end of this pay period and including this transfer that we made of $130, we are at $2,403.92 towards our level 2 emergency fund goal. Now, that total goal for level 2 is $6,000. And the reason we chose that was it is essentially the cost of 1 month of expenses. Our budget's actually $5,900, but $6,000 is nice and round, so we decided to go with that. And to that end, we will eventually have 12 levels so that we'll have a full year of a month's expenses saved up eventually. So right now we're about 40% of the way to our level 2 goal. And I think we're like 3% to our level 12 goal because that's $72,000. But, every little bit helps. And with this being an emergency fund, we are obviously aware if some emergency comes up, we will use that money. That is what it's for. And then we'll just have to restart and start building back up again. But where we are now, $2,403.92. Maybe I should just write that here. Emergency fund is at $2,403.92. Now, our mortgage, we started the month at $233,610.20. And as of the end of this pay period, including the 196, principal only payment that we made, we are now at $231,678.95. So a nice little adjustment there, mostly because we did have that larger payment that we made due to having the tax refund. But that's great. Now, this is obviously quite a huge amount, so it is going to take us time to really make much of a dent in it. But, as I don't know if it's an adage or it's just something somebody put together, but as they say, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. That's what we're going to do. We're going to just incrementally do what we can, when we can, and how, to the best of our ability. Now, I would like to create some kind of tracker so that there's a little bit better of a visual aspect to the progress we're making. Anything that I put together is going to have, like roughly 460 squares or sections that can be colored in. I am working on something, but I need to finalize it, get it just the way that I want it. But that is my intention, to have a little bit of a tracker that I can color in as we are making progress, because, it's fine to give these updates and everything, but I think it'd be helpful to visually be able to see movement, especially when you're dealing with really big numbers like these. Okay, so I think that's it as far as financial updates are concerned. So last but not least, I will tell you my tales of woe regarding unemployment. So, I will preface this by saying I'm really actually not surprised at the difficulties that I have run into, simply because throughout this whole process of the budgeting and everything, and as people were laid off in our department and other areas of the company, and I stayed in touch with them, and they kind of explained some of the experiences that they have had with unemployment and looking for jobs and all of that. Very rarely was there anything that went smoothly or timely or anything like that. I am a little surprised at the challenge I ran into in particular, but yeah, I'm not terribly surprised that things have not gone smoothly. So, bottom line is, I did attempt to sign up for unemployment to get my account created and be able to have that initial claim, so that week could be considered my wait week, and then the week after and going forward would presumably be weeks that I would be able to get benefit for. Unfortunately, when I went online to create this account, do my initial claim, the system advised that they found, and I can't remember if it said they found a claim or if they found an account that matched my details. And of course I was like, what? Because obviously I have not been unemployed until just recently, until the 7th of this month. So, that struck me as rather odd. There was an option to move forward, and what you would do, and if you decided to take those steps, is they would send an access letter to the address on the account, and it would have a code, and then when you get it, you go back online and you enter that code, and that would apparently link whatever data they had to your attempt to do an initial claim or something along those lines. I'm taking it as it was a way to kind of verify my identity and stuff like that. And I was like, well, okay, I don't know why there is an account set up or why my info is in here and creating this problem, but yes, send me this letter so that we can move forward. And in the verbiage of the website notification, it did advise it could take several days depending on your location. I am in the Portland metro area, so my assumption, perhaps incorrect, was it shouldn't take very long once that letter was posted to get to me. I'm thinking maybe 3 days, 5 days at the far end. So I was doing all of this on a Sunday because they count their weeks Sunday to Saturday with the expectation of, okay, I'm going to put my initial claim in, and then that week, the activity that I do, I will then do an actual claim the next Sunday for that previous week. That previous week would, or the week that we were in would be my wait week, and then moving forward, blah, 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 blah. But then I was like, okay, I'm doing this on Sunday. I don't know how hands-on the process is of getting these letters out might be. I have no idea if it's completely automated, so nobody has to touch anything. It just gets sent out in some way, shape, or form, or if somebody has to receive the request, print off that coded letter, fold it up, put in an envelope, and and then mail it, or use whatever mailing process that they have. I don't know how human involved the process is. So I figured Mondays, I'm sure, are probably a terrible bear. You're trying to get caught up from stuff that came in over on the weekend. So maybe Tuesday would be the soonest that it would get sent out. Maybe. And so to that end, okay, if that's the case, and it should take, maybe 3 days on the short end, I should see something on Friday, maybe Saturday. Well, nothing came. And then, of course, I was like, okay, well, it did say several days, so maybe by Tuesday I'll have something. Didn't have anything. So finally Wednesday came, and I still didn't get anything in the mail. So I attempted to call. And I stayed on hold for an hour. And I was like, no, this is not going to do. They did have something on their website that advised, that the call volumes are really high, so you might want to try contacting using their contact us process. So I was like, fine, let me give that a go. And in the meantime, I had been thinking about this situation. I'm just like, why is there an issue in the first place? And the only thing that I could think of is either really, really bad or really, really annoying, but also potentially bad. So the really, really bad one, is that first initial, oh great, somebody has stolen my unemployment benefits. They have filed claim under my name, and there's benefit fraud going on. Hoping that is not the case. The other option that I came up with was, in the beginning of all of this, back in September of 2023, we were about a month out from when everybody was the big group of people were laid off, and we are just getting kind of our feet under us as far as what it means for those of us who still were employed. I wanted to check into all of the information that I could find about unemployment, because I, very silly of me, had assumed there's absolutely no way we could possibly be working any longer than maybe at the outset December of 2023. Boy, do I not know anything. But so to me, it felt like, my layoff was going to be impending, so I needed to get an understanding of how do I do the unemployment process, et cetera, et cetera. And I had done some reading and things like that, and there was a piece of the calculating your benefit, as well as how they determine what your base rate or base pay is and all that didn't quite make sense to me. So I did go online, and at the time, the online system that they have now, I think it was still in the process of being rolled out, because it didn't get fully integrated until, I looked this up too, February of 2024. So I'm not sure, because I can't remember that far back exactly what the system looked like. When I went to, try and get this claim going just recently, nothing looked familiar to me. So I have a feeling that it wasn't fully up and running yet. But anyway, I did go, to do their version of whatever contact process they had at the time. And I do vaguely recall creating an account. But again, I don't remember what all the information was that they required me to put in just so that I could go ask a question. I will say I did get an answer to that question, and I think I got it in like 2 days max. So thinking about all of that, my next thought was, okay, well, maybe by creating that account, because it was in an old system or this new system was only partially up and running, the fact that there was some data with my info and now I'm trying to do this thing, those two matched up. And so the assumption is it was some kind of initial claim, even though it really wasn't, because I had no reason to do a claim since I wasn't unemployed yet. And so that's where this problem has arisen. Where I'm extra concerned about that is if I didn't actually submit a claim, and I don't remember exactly what information I needed to put in there, there's a great chance that yes, maybe my name and phone number, email address are there, but perhaps there's no address assigned or assigned to that data. So though I've gone and I've tried to get this process started, there's potentially, I don't know, potentially there's no address for this letter to go to. And that could explain why after 2.5 weeks, I still have not received one. But then again, I know that they are incredibly swamped. I know that they do not have enough people working there. And with all of the layoffs that have been happening recently and not that recently, I know that there's so many people trying to utilize this resource. So if they are behind, that could be an answer. Anyway, I did submit that information, my concern, exactly what it was I was trying to do, my concerns of, hey, does this mean that maybe there's been some fraud? Or by the way, here's an activity that I did. I didn't actually submit or create a claim, so I'm not sure whether this could be an answer. But here's this other piece of speculation as well. And I submitted that on, when did I do that? Last Wednesday. Ooh, I don't even know what the days are anymore. Basically, it's been over just about a week, I think. Has it been a week? Yeah, just about a week since I submitted the concern to their contact us process. And I haven't heard anything. I did attempt to go on yesterday on the phone, and I sat on hold for a couple hours, and I was just like, I do have other things to do, so I'm not doing that. Today, when I tried to call in the morning, I couldn't even get in. I kept on getting busy signals, or the call would kind of like pause. There wouldn't be any sound and it would drop. So after about 2.5 hours of, trying every 5 to 10 minutes, I gave up and went and did some other things. And then in the afternoon, I think it was like about 1:30, 1:45, I tried again, and miraculously I did actually get through and got their, voicemail or their little voice instruction thing, and held on the line for 3.5 hours. Nobody picked up. Yeah, it was great. And I finally hung up because their hours are 9 to 4 p.m. and we had gotten past 4 p.m. So basically I have used their options via email, contact us. I've attempted to get a hold of them via phone. I really don't think that that's going to be doable. The next option I have is to try and go into one of their locations. I'm not sure how successful that will be because I'm seeing I think contradictory information online. Some saying that you do need to get an appointment, some saying that you will be helped even if you don't have an appointment. And of course, how are you supposed to make an appointment? You gotta call. So I got to figure out what's going to be the best option there and whether they'll even be able to help me. I feel kind of bad because I'm already feeling like I'm straining some of their resources because now I'm attempting to get the same thing fixed via multiple different ways. But at the same time, I would like to get this process started. And my concern is once this gets resolved and I can do my initial claim and stuff, will I be able to say, hey, I did try to do this back on the 16th, and I've got information for my activities for the week of the 16th and the week of the 23rd and the week of the 30th. Am I able to go and claim all those weeks back and have that week of the 16th be my first week, my waiting week, and then have the subsequent weeks be eligible to be paid, benefits once everything gets reviewed and validated as being what it needs to be? Or are they going to say, well, technically you didn't actually file your claim, get started until whatever week that ends up being. So anything I have done previous to that, even if, I've documented it all and it does meet the requirements, it's not going to count. It's only going to be from the date that you actually submitted your claim and going forward that I'll be able to use. I'm going to be a little annoyed if that is the answer and I can't utilize the activities that I have been doing so far. But, there's only so much you can do. And as long as if the answer is, okay, well, the week of, I don't know, whatever next week is, the 10th, maybe. I don't know, it's probably not that far. 5th. The week of whatever it happens to be is the first that I can actually reference. As long as I get 26 weeks from there, then fine. Whatever. I would be doing these activities anyway. I'm trying to find a job, and if I don't get credit for those, that's fine. But as long as my benefit is not impacted going forward as well. So that's where things stand as far as unemployment is concerned. And frankly, because I had heard some horror stories, from friends and acquaintances, and even some folks at the very beginning when we're talking about their experiences, people that I had watched on YouTube talking about their layoff experience and dealing with unemployment, people were saying, it can take 6 weeks. Some even had 12 weeks before you see a paycheck. And obviously, it's already getting into the 3-week period, and I still haven't even managed to get set up. So who knows how long once I do get set up, considering it seems like they are so backed up and so understaffed, etc., that it'll take for them to even review the things that I do finally get to submit when I would see a first paycheck anyway. And it's all of that is one of the biggest reasons why we wanted to forego focusing on reducing our debt and making that whole savings process the first priority. Because if we had to rely on unemployment in a significant way in order to pay our bills, we would be hurting very much right now. So we wanted to make sure we were in a position where if/when we got any unemployment benefit, we could treat it as an extra and not something we were relying on. So that is that. That is my tale of woe and irritation. We will see what tomorrow brings. I'm not sure if I'm going to tackle trying to go to the unemployment office tomorrow, or if I want to try sitting on hold and hoping that somebody actually answers the phone again. I don't know. It is disheartening. It is what it is. If it turns out that I am able to find a position before I am able to make any real progress with the unemployment thing, I probably won't attempt to pursue, back payments unless I can be sure that I would get some kind of benefit from it. Because frankly, I don't know if it'll be worth the hassle at that point. And that is me being very, very positive and uplifting to myself about finding a job soon. I just actually applied to a position today. I'm not like super in love with it, but it did seem like something that I had some pretty good skills to match, even if it's not exactly what I was doing before. And they look like they had some nice benefits, and it would be helping the community in a significant way. So that definitely has some interest level on my end. But we'll see. It is a job with the is that the state or county level? I can't remember. So competition I'm sure will be fierce, and so far I haven't had a whole lot of luck of anybody getting back to me about applications. I did see another position that is similar to what I was doing when I first started at my old job, and I am intrigued by it. It is with a completely different company, obviously, since my old job is essentially no more. But it is still in the trucking industry, and I don't know, once bitten, twice shy, and all of that. It is a very volatile industry. Margins are very, 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 very slim. And with things looking like they're probably going to be heading, if it's not already there, into a recession, my concern would be, consumer spending tightens, which means there's more goods in the stores, which means manufacturers aren't getting as many orders, which means we're not shipping things as vigorously around the country, which means they don't necessarily need as many employees at various trucking companies. And I'd hate to be in that position of first or last in, first out. Or also the other kind of downside to this, it's downside, upside, is it is a part-time position. So, it would kind of make sense to get rid of the part-time positions first if, it goes that route. But the other thing about it is that part-time piece. Right now, with the pay that they have listed, it just would not be enough for us to maintain the budget that we have. We would have to still pull money from the job loss cushion in order to augment and meet that $2,200 budget shortfall need. And so obviously we would be able to do that for a little while, but not forever. And in talking to a friend of mine who actually used to work at my old work, and who does work there, I asked him if he thought positions that start as part-time there go to full-time very often. And he wasn't, super positive about whether that'll be doable, but he did say, possibly. I don't know. I of all the jobs that I did while I was at my company, I loved the first job that I had. I loved the hours, and this would be part-time in the evenings. I like the idea of being able to go in and do that again. But the part-time piece of it, that is really, really, really hard, because I don't want to be in a position where I have to leave a job because we just can't afford to continue having me be in there. And I don't know what the opportunities would be for me to work 2 part-time jobs. I know that people do it all the time. I just don't know if I have the wherewithal for that. Frankly, I'm a wuss, and I'm not afraid to say it. Yeah, and obviously, if I were to just leave, then I wouldn't be able to file for unemployment, because that would not be an involuntary, loss of job. I don't know. I am intrigued. There is a level of interest. I just don't know if we could get our costs, or at least what my share of the budget needs to cover, reduced enough that we could actually sustain that budget with me being part-time. I'm not sure how flexible they are on the pay either. My friend seemed to think that maybe they would be a little bit flexible, but they posted a certain range, and the bare minimum amount that I would need to do a part-time job was definitely higher than the high end of their range. So I don't know. I'm thinking about it. The other side of it is, am I missing out on a truly good opportunity if I don't go forward with this? There could be the possibility of it going to full-time. And at full-time, especially if I were to be brought in on the higher end, which I would be advocating for just because of my experience and everything, we would be able to, cover our budget just fine. So, and I'd be doing something that I enjoyed previously during hours that I prefer, because I'm a night person. I would be a little bit concerned because both Mr. M and I then would be working nights, and I don't love the idea of our house, not having somebody there. I don't know. I just feel more weird about that than I would if we were both working and out of the house during the day. I don't know if that seems weird or not, but yeah. Anyway, I guess that's it. I talked about maybe making this shorter by not doing those calculations. Woo, boy, did I save myself some time, huh? Anyway, that is the end of our recap, and discussing, kind of where things stand at this point. If you have any questions, suggestions, ideas, things of that nature, please note those down below in the comments, and I will do my absolute best to get back to you with an answer or a response of some kind. If it is something that is asked that I feel maybe other people might have similar questions, I might also address it in a video. Yeah, I guess that's it. So I do hope we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.